CASA stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates. So we are appointed by a judge to serve on a child's case in order to advocate for them. So at CASA, what we do is we recruit, we train, and we supervise.
Today we spoke with Heaven and Carly from CASA of Kern. CASA of Kern County modeled a program started by Judge David Soukup in Seattle, which was developed locally by Robert Anspach. Judge Anspach relied on many of the movers and shakers in Bakersfield to make CASA happen. CASA of Kern County was incorporated in July 1993. The first advocates graduated in July of 1994 and started serving children. Since then, CASA has held multiple training sessions each year, graduating over 1,400 volunteers and serving over 3,000 children. But the story is not over, as there are several problems that still remain that are critical as ever. Child abuse and neglect remain a significant problem in Kern County. Well-abused and neglected children are often the result of substance abuse, poverty, and homelessness. We know that it can occur in every neighborhood and in any income bracket. We have more than 70 children on the wait list, and we need CASA now more than ever before. In today's show, we discuss the mission of CASA, upcoming events, and later in the show, we talk about their big event that's coming May 6th called Derby.
Welcome back to the Our 2 Cents podcast, the show where your local professionals sit down with an array of guests to hear their story and impart some wisdom for both business and life-improving skills. This is your place to hear business and community leaders discuss relevant topics that matter to you.
Hi everyone, it's Amanda, and today we have a great show. But before I get into it, I'd like to remind you and encourage you to go listen to our other podcast episodes and to follow us on our social media platforms, because that's the greatest way to get connected and win some giveaways that we do every month. For today, I have Heaven and Carly here, and they're from CASA of Kern County. And I'm super excited to be discussing this nonprofit and all the wonderful things that they do in the community. So Heaven, why don't you discuss the mission statement of the nonprofit?
Yeah, well, thank you for having us,
Of
first
course.
off. So CASA stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates. So we are appointed by a judge to serve on a child's case in order to advocate for them. So at CASA, what we do is we recruit, we train, and we supervise. So we find volunteers from within our community to give back to our community. And we do that by advocating for foster children and youth here in Kern County.
Mm-hmm. What would be one example of that?
So one thing that our advocates can do that is really impactful is to advocate for mental health needs, for example. If they feel like the child could benefit from having an assessment, if we feel like there might be something there that our CASAs don't have all the complete knowledge on mental health, but they know that something could be done to help the child, they can advocate for an assessment to be done and then go from there and see if there's something out there that can help the child in that whatever comes about from that assessment. Our advocates can also hold educational rights for that child. So in the event that the parent is not available to make those decisions educationally for the child, our advocates can step in, get those educational rights, and start advocating for them that way as well. It also expands to placement changes. So if they're in a situation where maybe they're not the most happy, they can make those suggestions to the judge about what they feel would be best for them moving forward.
Is this kind of grant run or donation run? And then if it's grant, do they place them into like vendors that have applied to be able to do mental services or placements or education? Or how does that go? How do you go to the next step?
Yeah, so our program is funded by, we have fundraisers, we have grants, we have donors as well. So it's a little bit of everything. We really do rely on the community, and thankfully Kern County is a very giving community. And in terms of like connecting our CASA children to resources, we work with DHS very closely, even though we're not part of DHS. We're our own nonprofit, so we do work very closely with them, however. And so we like to say that we're working together towards the same goal, which is to make sure that that child is going to be in the most safe, permanent home that they can be.
Great. Awesome. Carly, do you want to talk about a little bit of the history, like how, this organization started?
Yeah. So CASA is a national organization. It was started in the early 80s, late 70s in Seattle by a juvenile court judge there who, saw the need, saw that a lot of social workers change, attorneys change, and these kids really needed someone consistent in their life. And so they wanted to bring in an unbiased third party to kind of be the eyes and ears for the child. And so that's how CASA got started. So our local juvenile court judge, Robert Anspach, saw the same need here, and CASA was becoming more popular throughout the United States. So actually in 1993, he and a couple of other attorneys and judges in town, Terry Foley is one of them, and the Junior League of Bakersfield, they actually all got together and started our own chapter, you'd say, of CASA. We were incorporated as an organization in July of 1993, and then in 1994, our first class graduated. And we've been serving kids ever since. I think we've served around 3,600 kids since 1994.
Wow, that is amazing. That's so, so cool. How would somebody become a volunteer or have a career path even?
You can go to our website, kerncasa.org. We are kind of getting back out into the community right now, trying to do as much outreach as possible. We've been out at schools and churches, kind of recruiting volunteers. The first step to becoming a CASA is to attend an orientation or a CASA info session. We've got those listed on our social media and on our website, and that is a really great opportunity for our outreach coordinator to walk the person through what it is like to be a CASA. We have a lot of requirements. It's pretty daunting when you look at it. We ask for an 18-month commitment from these people, and we have how many hours of...
We have 42 hours of training, so we like to let people know that you don't have to have any kind of professional or even personal experience, let's say working with children or in mental health, education, things like that. Of course, we do tend to get people who are retired professionals from those fields because they want to continue to give back, and but they don't have to have that experience. We let people know, don't be intimidated. We offer you the tools that you're going to need in order to be an advocate. We will train you, and then of course we continue to supervise you once you're on the case. So once you're assigned to a case, you have an assigned CASA supervisor, and they're going to be your support throughout the entire case, every step of the way. So if you ever run into any kind of situations where you really just don't know what to do, you don't know what resources are out there to connect your child to those resources or how to advocate for them, our supervisors are there to support them, like I said, every step of the way.
That's really cool that you do, an 18-month commitment. I mean, most, when you're serving on a board, you have those commitments, but these are volunteers, and that's really awesome because that gives them, okay, this is what's involved, this is what's expected, and they can then quickly decide, okay, this is for me or not for me. And you're not you're self-wasting resources trying to train and trying to continue to look for advocates.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason that we ask for 18 months, and I mean, like Carly said, it is a very big commitment for somebody who's volunteering their time. And so the reason for that is because the children who are in care, all of them that we are working with and are part of foster care have been found to have been abused, neglected, or abandoned. Every single one. So that means that there was an investigation done on the claims that these things were happening. DHS found that they were true enough to remove that child from the situation a lot of the times. Sometimes the child it does stay in the home if they feel like they are not in immediate danger. But for the most part, whenever they're removed from their home, there's a lot of change going on. They're being removed from the only home that they know, from the only people that they know, from the only friends that they know. A lot of times, if they get placed in a home that's away from their school district, they got to move schools too. So that usually comes with losing friends as well. So you have, you're, as a young child, you're trying to navigate all of these changes and trying to understand all of it. And, when you're that young, you don't have experience, you don't have a skill set, you don't have the resources to advocate for yourself. You don't know how to do those things yet. And so you're really relying on somebody, the adults, to do that for you. But of course, there is a lot of turnover in social workers, even in judges as well. So
attorneys too.
Attorneys. And so we want to provide a consistent adult in their life. And that's why we ask for 18 months. If we are going to introduce this child to a new adult, we want to make sure that they're going to keep showing up for them. You change schools, okay, no problem. The CASA will continue to be there. You change placements, okay, no problem. The CASA will continue to show up. And so we hope that by providing that continuity in their life, that they see like, oh, somebody does care. They're, no matter what scary thing is going on, this person keeps showing up for me, and it starts to become something that they can rely on. And when you're going through all of these changes and you don't know how to make sense of it all, it really helps to kind of counter all of the negativity that comes, sort of the adverse effects. We call them adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. And it's one of the topics that we talk about in training as well. Our advocates might not have that experience in foster care or personally, and that's okay. But we want them to understand what it is that the children who are in care have gone through and what they're experiencing so that they can better advocate for them. And so ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, are one of those things that we discuss and we talk about in training, and we have really great discussions and figure out more about, how we can better advocate for the kids and have more open perspectives about how to do that.
I would agree. Stability is a huge key when they're making those life changes. As I said, I serve on other foster care, boards in town, and one of them we provide mental health therapy. And that is the first person that they're kind of bonding with. And, it's so hard even too for the therapist, because you hear everything that they're going through. And sometimes the child thinks it's their fault, or sometimes they don't understand what we're trying to do for them, or the new foster house is trying to do for them, because, they're engraved in their brain that, oh, well, this is normal. This is how I should have been treated. And they don't know any better. And creating that stability is key, because that will help them get through, other life challenges and things like that. So hard, I think, the transition for these children to, understand that this wasn't okay. I can cope through this and I can have a better life. So I agree. I think it is important to have that limit of, hey, you need 18 months.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the funny thing is the children are so young, and like I said, they don't have the experience to rationalize all of this. But I would say that most of the time, if the children want to go back home,
yes,
even when there is abuse and neglect going on, because it's what they know. And so I actually came to CASA myself as an advocate during COVID, and I was assigned to a sibling set, a brother and a sister, both very young. He was 7 years old at the time, and she was 5. And so I think he remembered a little bit more about what had happened and what led to them being removed than his little sister did. But he did not display emotion and affection the way that you would expect a 7-year-old to. No hugs, no kisses, nothing like that. In the entire time that I was assigned to that case, I didn't see that until almost the very end. And the placement that he and his sister were in, it was a very stable environment. It was 2 doctors, actually. And so the home was always very well organized, very, very structured, type of schedule. The kids knew what to do and when to do it. And so every time that, 6 o'clock came around, we knew it was bath time. And every time after that, there was a story, and then they would go to bed. It was very routine, very structured, which can be great for a child. But it also lacked that familial warmth that I think they were craving. And I really saw that once they transitioned back into going home with mom, who thankfully was doing all of the steps that she needed to in order to get the children back. And so there's a transition period where they go and visit for extended periods of time, and then eventually they go back to living with mom, and they continue to be monitored for 6 months by the court to make sure that things are okay before the court is no longer involved. So in the foster home, they were sort of very well off. Everything, they had every video game, they had every, video game system, computers, TV in every room, really nice and beautiful. But mom, who they were kind of transitioning to going back to, did not have any of these things. She didn't even have a single TV. They were in a 1-bedroom apartment with bunk beds and very minimal furniture, because she was just getting back on her feet. And so when the case was ending, I started to see the little boy start to have much more expressive affection. And it was almost like he felt safe enough to show that affection. And so we started to see more hugging, more kissing, and maybe he felt safe enough to show these things. And I remember on my my last visit with him, we were at a park. And so at the end of the visit, they were going home and I was going back to my car, and he kind of just wraps his arms around me and he's like, "Oh no, Heaven, you come with us too." Aww. And it just tore me to pieces in the best way, because I had never in that entire time seen him show that before. And I think he just felt really safe finally, but he did not care that his mom didn't have a TV, and he didn't care that they didn't have iPads and video games and things like that. He just really cared about being back with his mom.
Yeah.
But, even when there is abuse still going on in the home and the children can't go back yet, they still want to be there because it's what they know and it's their family.
Yeah. I've seen that in a lot of cases too, even ones where there's huge abuse and things like that. And I recall one story was, this child got physically abused by his parents, and then the mom left and the dad was still abusing him, and child services came, took him away, and put him in one of our programs in foster care. And again, he just thought it was normal. He just thought the abuse was normal, and he wanted to get back to his parents. During that time, his mom was a user, so she passed away from overdose, and then the father was still alive, and the child then turned 18 finally and was like, okay, maybe I can reconnect with my father, because during this whole time they wouldn't allow him to go back because there was no improvement, and the the abuse was so bad they weren't going to put him back into the father's custody. The moment that he turned 18 and was going to try to go locate his father died. Oh, no. So he lost both of his parents while he was in foster care, and then wasn't able to reconnect. And in some ways it's so hard because it's shattering to that child, but then from an outside perspective, I'm like, sometimes it's a grateful thing that this didn't come to fruition, because it might have led to more abuse. So, but there's just so many stories like that out there that are just so sad, and it touches my heart every single time. But what also touches my heart is success stories. And I think you have brought one for us, right?
Yes, I did. I have a story that is actually a letter that one of our former CASA youth wrote to her advocates. It's in we do an annual newsletter. It's called Speak Up. It's on our website as well. But this is a letter from Mila. It's to her advocates, Judy and Dwight. Judy and Dwight are a married couple who've been with CASA almost 15 years. They're incredible advocates. And excuse me if I get choked up, because the letter,
yeah, every single time.
It makes me cry every single time, and I've read it a lot. But Mila entered foster care when she was 13. Her CASAs, Dwight and Judy, made an immense impact on her. So it goes, Dear Judy and Dwight, when I was 13, I entered foster care with my little brother, and to say we were lost is an understatement. There was a lot of sorrow and heartbreak that I buried deep inside my heart. I didn't ask for help, and I didn't know how to deal with all the emotions that came with losing a parent, entering foster care, and ensuring my little brother and I stayed together. I was terrified. However, with all those emotions came both of you, with your smiling faces and outstretched arms. You let me open up at my own pace. You were there with loaves of zucchini bread and cookies, and I found myself looking forward to every visit, every week for the next several years. You went to court for us when we were too scared to, and you came back, made ice cream with us, and explained to us what happened at those court hearings in a way that wasn't so scary. You connected us with family we didn't know we had. You made sure we stayed connected and didn't lose the family we made. When I started to get older, and when aging out of care was a very real thing, you showed me that it was okay to think about college. When I was in junior high school, you showed me all the resources available to you. You spoke with my school, showed me there were fee waivers and ways to get my foot in the door when I didn't have a penny to my name. I applied to as many scholarships as you could show me, and I spoke to everyone you put me in touch with so that I could afford college. When I turned 18, I went to college with a full ride because of you both. This is where it gets me. I didn't have to worry about the problems many aging out youth face. I didn't have to worry about food or how to live because you did all the legwork when I was a teenager and reached out to the people for me, so I didn't have to spend my college years trying to survive. You taught me how to be independent, and when I graduated with honors from California State University, Fullerton, you were there cheering me on. I'm 26 years old now, and you've both been cheering me on since I was a child. Although I was raised in the child welfare system, you both raised me and taught me how to be independent and fight for what I believe in. In May, I'm going to graduate from law school. For the past year, I've represented foster youth in their court proceedings, keeping in mind how you both treated me with your smiling faces and outstretched arms. With all the values you taught me, I'm going to be an attorney. Because of you both, I get to be an attorney. With all the love and support you've shown me, you both taught me that it is okay to ask for help, to advocate for myself, and to advocate for others. Thank you, Dwight and Judy. Thank you for believing in my brother and I and showing us nothing but love and support when we were in foster care. With love, Mila.
Wow. Goosebumps right now. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. And it's so, I get emotional because I know Dwight and Judy. They're the couple that comes in the office, you know, they chat with me. I'm at the front desk and I see them, and being where I am, I don't work in the program department. I'm at the desk, so I don't really get to see the impact that they get to make on these kids' lives. And then I get to read this, and it becomes so real because I know Dwight and Judy, and I know the kind of people they are, and just to see the kind of impact they've made. And this is just one of the kids they've advocated for. And so just to see that, and, you know, even after she was out of foster care, they still stuck around. And when she graduated, this is a little old, but she did graduate from law school, and they flew across the country to go to her graduation. And it was really, really nice to see. And, you know, it just kind of brings it all into perspective. You know, a lot of we do ask for that 18-month commitment, right? They could be on that case for years. We've had advocates on cases for 10 plus years. And so when you have that kid and you see so much in them, or even siblings, and you stick around for that long, it's so amazing to see. And it really reminds you of why we do what we do.
Yeah. And that's amazing. And before the show, we were talking about, you know, other resources here in town, and sometimes you guys partner with Covenant Coffee. But for those who haven't listened to the other podcasts that we brought them on, or don't even know about this other resource, but it's a nonprofit that helps when children are aging out, and they provide different resources like housing and training and things like that. And it's just amazing that, you know, your program plus other programs here in town that are available can help them make that transition. And like we were saying earlier, all you need is one opportunity. You need one mentor to help you through that, and your life's completely changed. And I just think it's so awesome that we get to see these success stories or hear them and be a part of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's so many of them too,
there
you know,
are.
throughout the years.
They're ones we don't even know about.
Exactly. And it really does come back to, you know, just being that person who keeps showing up, even when things get tough, even when there's changes in their life. You just have that one familiar face who keeps showing up time after time. I remember one time when I took the kids over to the water park, on Truxton. I can't remember the name of the park, but during summer, and they just loved going there. And when I was working as a dispatcher, I had one of those weird shifts, and so I was doing my visit before I had to go to work, and so it's time to go. And if you've ever had to wrangle kids away from something really fun, it takes a long time. So I'm trying to get them in the car, and, you know, we're taking a long time. Like, all right, guys, I'm so sorry, but we got to go. I have to go to work. And they just kind of pause and like, I thought this was your work. Oh. And it can be kind of difficult to explain that to a child. Like, what is an advocate? You know, like, right. Oh, well, I'm not a social worker. I don't work for DHS. And it's like, well, who are you then? Like, what do you do? And so it's just, but they understand somebody continuously showing up for them time and time again. And so eventually they start to understand that you are going to be that person for them. And I think that's more important than whether or not they can explain or understand what the word advocate is.
Right. What a CASA stands for.
It would mean more to be, you know, to know that it was an advocate or a volunteer than one of those state or government agencies, because they're getting paid to be there where you're doing this from the bottom of your heart. And so I think it would create a lot more trust and love and understanding.
Absolutely. I think so. And like you said, we are working with, you know, our volunteers are not paid. It's completely volunteer work. And I think that's why the CASA model is so effective. We're able to reach a lot of people. And because Kern County is such a giving community, we get to meet some amazing, amazing people. When I was the training coordinator, that was my favorite part about the training, was getting to know them and what brought them to CASA. Why are you here? Why choose CASA out of all of the nonprofits that are out there? Because they all do great work, and, you know, we're all working towards the same thing. But I think it takes like a very special individual to dedicate that much time. All of our CASAs visit with the child every week. for at least an hour, and they're traveling there, they're taking notes, and importantly, they also submit court reports to the judge of all of their findings from these visits. So social workers have 60, 70 cases at one time that they have to visit every month. So obviously the time that they can dedicate to each and every child is going to be more limited, but our CASAs are assigned to one case. Right. And it could have a sibling set, if, they could be in the same placement or not, but they're assigned to that one focus. And no, they don't advocate for the parents. They don't advocate for anybody else other than the children who are in that case. And so they give them that individualized attention that other parties just are not able to do. So Judge Gill, who we work very closely with, she's the one who swears our CASAs in as official CASAs. She likes to say that social worker reports are very helpful. They kind of provide like the black and white framework, but a CASA's report provides all the color. Right. It's where you learn what their favorite food is, what their favorite movie is, what their favorite color is. And we include a picture as well, because there are so many cases that are, part of Kern County. I think we're about 2,000 cases
close,
approximately in Kern County alone of children who have been abused or neglected or abandoned. And so CASA right now, because obviously we're a nonprofit and working with limited number of volunteers, we're only serving about 16% of those kids. So we're always trying to reach more people. We're always out doing outreach. So we're continuously looking for people who are willing to step up and be that person for our kids.
Yeah. And we've got about 70 kids on our high priority wait list right now too, waiting for CASAs. The judge has already put that trust in us, has appointed us. We just need the volunteers.
Yeah, so if you're listening and this touched your heart or you even teared up a little bit like I did, definitely reach out to them, because this is needed. And it's very important, because that's, generational wealth. That helps, our streets be clean. It helps our community. It helps us economically. And it just saves a life, to be honest. And that should be the only reason anyways. But it impacts everything around us by saving this one life.
It absolutely does. A third of all of the children who age out, we were talking about children who are in the system for so long that they reach 18 and they're still in the system. A third of all of those kids end up being homeless.
Right.
Of course, it obviously has lasting effects with, if they didn't complete high school, for example, which is another possibility for children who are in foster care. As they get older, their competitiveness for wages also is, going to be pretty low. Their chances of being incarcerated are also going to be much higher. So having somebody early on, as early as possible, assigned to their case is going to make a world of difference to counteract some of those adverse effects of being in foster care.
And it also improves substance abuse and mental health, which is suicide rates. And then, substance abuse, you are on the streets or you're overdosing, which is more deaths, or, you're causing, other things, which this can help do that. So, okay. So on your website, I saw something titled CASA Clubhouse. You guys want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we have our CASA Clubhouse. It's just a couple doors down from our office. And it is our space where our CASAs can bring their CASA kids. We've got a kitchen. We've got a Wii. We have, I think we're getting an air hockey table soon. We've got a computer lab. We have just all sorts of great things, and CASAs can bring their kids for their visits, their weekly visits that they have. It's open for them to use 7 days a week. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And it's a really great place for them to go, especially because, our CASAs, they don't need to spend money on the kids, but they want to spend great quality time with them. And it's a great place for them to go and be. It's been, since 2021 is it when it opened?
I believe so.
Yeah. And it's just a really awesome space for our kids to hang out. I just walked in the other day. We had some Calm tickets that one of our advocates wanted. And I went inside, and she and her CASA kid were baking cookies. And it was so cool. And, it's a great place, especially for our older kids, which we do have a lot of. They can learn some life skills. A lot of our CASAs take that time to teach them how to cook, how to make food. We have laundry, teach them how to do laundry with a washing machine and dryer, and just some awesome, really great life skills, especially when they're close to aging out. Right. And, might not have anyone to tell them how to do it, especially if they live in a group home. They don't have that foster parent to teach them those life skills or any stable adult in their life, but they have their CASA.
Yeah, it's awesome. For people listening and in general, there's things that we like items we can donate or like money to donate. Is there things that you guys currently need in the clubhouse that like, we could do something like, hey, we're wanting to raise money for, the hockey table or something like you just said, or is there things that you guys need?
Absolutely. We always take donations, new items preferably, because a lot of our kids, they move around a lot and, hand-me-downs, we want them to feel special. Books, backpacks, especially with back to school. I know school's not out yet, but we already are thinking about back to school. Backpacks, items like that. We have younger kids that we do have stuffed animals for, or older kids like hygiene kits and things like that. The clubhouse, we always will take donations. We had a little bit of a remodel, so we got some new rugs and the hockey table from our really awesome partners at Lennar Homes. They were really generous and gave us a lot of great items.
Yeah, when we had some vandalism happen at the clubhouse maybe 7 months ago or so, and so there was a flooding that happened overnight, and unfortunately a lot of our items got ruined. So we had to get rid of a lot of items. We had to get some items sent out to be sanitized and things like that. The walls had to be cut into just to be, be on the safe side with mold and all that. So our clubhouse was actually shut down for about 6 months.
Oh, no.
And so that means that in that entire time, our advocates didn't have that space available to them. And so there was a big need. Thankfully, we did partner with great people like Lennar Homes, and we also have had Junior League of Bakersfield helping us out with some items. So right now we are pretty squared away with the clubhouse, but of course, like Carly said, we always take donations for the kids. Like she mentioned, we don't want our CASAs to have to go into their own pocket for the kids. It is very, very tempting to do so, especially for birthdays and Christmases and things like that. They're away from home. We want them to feel special. And so we do prefer to have newer items to be able to gift them and make them feel like a normal kid as much as possible. So around Christmas time, we usually do get the community to give gifts and things like that. Our CASAs can then come to the CASA office and shop.
Oh, that's awesome.
For the items that, within their kids' age. And so that way they don't have to feel like they have to go into their own pocket to make the child feel special for Christmas and their birthdays as well.
Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, we had Calm tickets to give away, and those were generously donated to us. So we always take experiences for the kids. We had someone donate, I think, 10 tickets to see Swan Lake with the Bakersfield City Ballet. Wow. And they were taken up so quickly.
Very quickly.
It was a really big hit. So kind of anything like that where, we can get our kids out and to experience some culture, some things around town, because they are, they go to school, they come home, they're in a new place. If we can just get them out and have a great time, I think that that's something that we always are open to receiving as well.
That's great too, because helping redo walls or a hockey table might not be in some people's budget, but maybe they want to help. So it might maybe like 2 tickets to the movies or tickets to Calm or other kid-friendly events in town is a great idea.
Yeah, gift cards as well. We have had, I think Maya Cinemas gave us even just $10 gift cards. So our kids can get, the movies, they can have a great time. And it's definitely something that our CASAs utilize as well.
That's great. Okay, so overall you guys have a bunch of events during the year. We're going to be focusing on one large event that's coming up May 6th. But before we get into that, can we discuss other events you have during the year?
Yeah. We're actually in the midst of kind of our most relaxed event, I would say. So April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we have something called Pinwheels for CASA. Last year we were at the marketplace and we did a display of pinwheels. We had almost 2,000 pinwheels displayed. Majority of them were blue, but we had about 400 that were red, and the red is representing the kids that have a CASA. So that was kind of our big display, more about raising awareness rather than, raising funds. But this year we kind of went in a different direction. We have yard signs that for a $10 donation at kerncasa.org gets you a free yard sign. We actually just went out to some businesses yesterday, some really awesome local businesses that are displaying our signs. Rosemary's, Locale Farm to Table, Soak Car Wash on Oak and 24th. Their owner knows CASA. We didn't know this until we connected over Instagram, but his grandma was a CASA.
Oh, wow.
And it was really great to hear his story. We did a story with 23 ABC, and it was really awesome to hear, because you don't really, you get to see your CASAs, but you don't know the lives that have been touched by CASA.
Right.
And our community is so giving and so wonderful. So it's really great to hear those stories. But Pinwheels is going on right now. Our signs have the pinwheel on them. A pinwheel is a representation of a happy childhood. The childhood that every kid deserves to have. They deserve to play happily, and that's on our sign. It also has the words, child abuse hurts everyone. Like we discussed earlier, it affects everyone in the community, not just the child, everybody. And it's got a QR code that takes you to a section of our website that kind of gives more statistics about child abuse in Kern County and what we're doing to prevent that. So that's going on right now. It's the whole month long of April. It's been pretty successful right now. Our other event is in the fall. This year we're having our CASA Superhero Run on October 28th. It's at the Park at Riverwalk. It's a 5K, 10K run walk. We do have a 2K for kids. It's really fun to see. We have lots of vendors. We have food vendors. We had the Covenant Coffee Pink Lady coffee truck out last year. It was really fun. We have nonprofit vendors. We had a whole community section to say thank you to our everyday heroes. Like we had BPD, the fire department, ambulance. We had everybody represented out there. So it's really a great community day. You don't have to run if you don't want to, myself included. But it's a really great day. It's really more family focused, where our other event is kind of more adult focused. This is our big day where we can celebrate the family and bring everybody together. And it's a really great time.
So I'm assuming by the title that people can dress up as superheroes?
Yes, that is something that we enjoy to do.
It is very highly encouraged.
Highly encouraged. Every person who participates does get a cape. A CASA cape and a t-shirt, and we always have fun designing them every year. But yeah, we sometimes have some special superheroes out at the event. Superman has been known to show up in the flesh.
Wonder Woman
has shown up before. I think we had Batman one year as well. He made an appearance, stopped from fighting crime to show up at our Spider-Man. Oh, we had the rock wall last year, and you got to race Spider-Man up the rock wall.
I bet that was a huge memory for the kids.
It was amazing, and some kids are really fast going up a rock wall. But that went on. We had to kind of that while we were still cleaning up, that was still going on because kids loved it. It was a big hit.
That's amazing. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I'm sure there's tons of other events that they do in the year, which you can check out on their website and try to get involved or donate for. The main reason we're here, other than, discussing the mission statement and this wonderful nonprofit, is they have an upcoming event May 6th. It's a derby, or Kentucky Derby is what, what we're saying instead of Kentucky. And so I would like to discuss that, maybe start with, what to expect at the events and things that you're going to be doing at the events, and then kind of walk through the timeline so that our listeners can know what to expect while we're there.
Yeah, so it's the annual CASA Derby Party, very Kentucky style. So we watch the Kentucky Derby races. So once you are at the beautiful Gardner Ranch, it's this gorgeous venue on the most perfect day in May, I think. It's really beautiful, but once guests arrive, you can have a mint julep. They usually have the horses out, so you have some unique photo opportunities. And once you step inside while you're enjoying drinks, we have plenty of raffles that you can enter for, socialize, and of course we have dinner and live music. We have auctions as well. And so it's just a really beautiful night out at the ranch to celebrate, raising awareness for child abuse prevention, CASA of Kern County. All proceeds go directly towards CASA of Kern County. But everybody is encouraged to wear Kentucky Derby attire or Western wear, and people really get into the competition.
I see some of those ladies with their hats.
There is the best dressed award.
Oh, okay.
And people go all out.
They really do.
The bigger the hat, the better.
Yes. The bigger the hat, the better.
Yeah. This is my first year helping sponsor the event, and I'm super excited. It looks like a lot of fun, and I'm sure you guys are still open to a couple more sponsorships, or if you're not, there's tickets always available. Can you go over some of the pricing or sponsorship that you have available?
Yeah, so we still have some sponsorships available, so all they need to do is reach out to us and we can go over those details, but tickets are open and on sale, so we encourage everybody to get their tickets now, or if they're going to get a table, especially to get those tables now, because we do have limited seating. So we can only accommodate so many people, and it is a very popular event. This is actually our 10th year of the CASA Derby Party, so we want to make sure that everybody who has previously attended, we do get a lot of recurring guests every year, and this year we have seen a lot of new
we have seen a lot of new people.
Yeah.
It's been really exciting. A table of 8 is $1,200, and a single ticket is $150. That includes drinks, dinner, and live entertainment. We have the great Frank Trimble. He's a really great live entertainer, and so there's dancing, and it's really fun and exciting. You get to watch some great CASA content. We've got some really great videos to show everyone this year that we're really excited about. We usually feature a CASA story, and so this year's I think is going to be really good, but you'll have to attend to see what it's about.
That's good to know in advance, because I need to bring a box of tissues then.
Definitely. We should have them on the table.
we definitely probably should.
Have the table.
I just, off the air, again, because I'm involved with Covenant Coffee, and they just had their 20th anniversary, and we were there, and again, there was people sharing their stories and things like that, and I was just bawling the whole time. So, I'll put that in my purse somewhere.
Definitely. That's a good idea.
Good plan.
Yeah.
So if our listeners want to connect, where can they go to connect, or where are you located in social media?
Yeah, on Instagram, we are at Kern CASA. I think that's where we are most active. We have posted a lot of stuff lately. We're getting back into the swing of things. Our Facebook, we're just CASA of Kern County. We do have separate pages for the Derby Party and for the Superhero Run. You can find us there. We're on YouTube. We upload all of our great videos. So if you, by chance, can't come to Derby, we would love to see you there. You can catch the video later of our CASA story that we'll have, and you can see years past as well. There's a really awesome video of our 2022 Derby. So if you've never been, it's a great place to go and see all of the awesome times that you'll have.
Awesome. And then can you repeat your guys' website one more time?
Yes, it's kerncasa.org. Our office is over on Columbus. We're in the Lowe's Shopping Center. You can also give us a call at 661-631-2272. I'm at the front desk. You can talk to me. I'll get you where you need to go.
Awesome. Okay, so every episode we do, rapid fire questions. So I have some to ask you guys. First question is, what is a quote you would live by?
Okay, I'll tackle
I'm going to let Heaven take this on. She's a quotes kind of girl.
I am. Okay, so I don't have the exact quote, but it goes something like, civilizations grow great when old man plant trees that they will never stand in the shade of. And I like to share this quote during our training, actually, and at events, because it really gets at the heart of what CASA's mission is. As advocates, you may see the benefits or the positive changes that you're making in that child's life if you're lucky, but a lot of the times that could happen, well into when they're adults, and you may or may not be there to see it, but that can be a tough part of being a CASA advocate, is that you don't get to see immediately the effects of you being in that child's life. But I think there is a great way to invest in our community is to invest in our kids. They are our future. And like we were mentioning earlier, the impact of children being in foster care impacts the whole community. So investing in them now, even though we may not be there to see the positive effects, I think is very worthwhile.
Agreed. All right, the next question is, if you could turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell her?
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
I was just thinking about it is I would go back and tell myself gratitude, because I don't think I really understood it when I was a teenager. And, especially seeing our kids' stories and what they go through, especially at such a young age, and how impactful it is on their lives. I just would go back and be like, be grateful for the life that you have. I have 2 parents who love me very much. I had a very stable childhood, and I don't think I told them thank you enough. And that's definitely something I would go back and tell them more. I do now as an adult, because, adulting is hard. But I would go back and, do more things for your parents.
Definitely important to be grateful. I agree.
Me too. All right, last question. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
That's hard.
Well, if we're talking about CASA, I think that we want to be remembered as being that person who kept showing up. through the hard times.
Really hard times.
Mm-hmm. That just person who keep consistently showing up. I myself was fortunate enough to have 2 stable parents in my life and have a pretty decent childhood, even though we weren't very well off. But I think back to the people in my life, the adults who really kind of helped shape who I am today. And I can think of one person in particular for me was my 3rd grade teacher. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I remember her so fondly and so intensely is because when I was first generation, and so learning English was sort of tough for me because it wasn't spoken at home. And so I'd go from school where we're learning English and grammar and all these complicated things, and then you go home and it's a completely different thing. But for whatever reason, my 3rd grade teacher decided that she felt like it was worthwhile to give me a little bit of extra attention. And so during recesses and after school, she would go out of her way to spend that one-on-one time with me. And so by the time that I left 3rd grade and was going on to 4th grade, I was reading at a 6th grade level because of her efforts.
That's awesome.
And I never encountered those issues ever again. And it was all because of all of the extra time and dedication that she gave me. And that was just, then that was a teacher, which obviously they can have big impacts. But when I think about what the children that we serve go through, it's so different, so much more intense. And again, to have that one person who's going to keep, showing up for you and advocating for you, to be your voice in the courts when you don't have one yet, I think is incredibly impactful and worthwhile.
Definitely. I think of one advocate comes to mind. We have an advocate named Greg. I call him my best friend. I see Greg a lot, and Greg is one of those people who shows up for his kid no matter what. And his kid has gone through a lot. Mm-hmm. I think he's currently in juvie. Mm-hmm. But that man shows up all the time. He calls for his supervisor. I talk to him. I go, "Hey, how's your kid?" And he'll give me an update. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He's like, "Yep, but I have to keep showing up." Mm-hmm. No matter what his kid's going through, he's a teenager. And life is really, really tough right now, especially when you live in a group home. Right. And kids can be mean. Mm-hmm. And it's really tough. And he keeps showing up no matter how frustrating it gets. If that was my kid, I'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I just don't know how I could deal with it. But Greg is that guy who shows up for that kid, and he's such a great role model. And I go, wow, I wish everybody could have a Greg, because no matter how hard times are, he's just always there for them. And it's so amazing to see. And we just have so many advocates that are like that, because times can get really, really hard for our kids. Yes. And so, just consistency and showing up.
Yeah, it's not easy work that our advocates do, and they do have to encounter a lot of things that maybe they themselves haven't had to before, mm-hmm. and maybe they don't know how to navigate. Mm-hmm. And so we have people, volunteers like that who will come to the office and get that guidance and get that help. And Greg is one of those people.
He keeps showing up. We've got great supervisors that are so supportive, like his supervisor, Araceli. She's so sweet. I'll be like, "Hey, your bestie Greg's on the phone." He's got, his kid's having some problems. She's like, "All right, send him over." And they tackle that problem together.
That's awesome.
No matter what you go through, no matter what your kid goes through, you've got support back at the office. I think that's something really important, because it is really, really daunting, but you've got the people there at the office to support you. So it's not a venture you're doing by yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really comforting, and especially for people who, are doing this for the first time, or new CASAs, because it's a whole new world for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And so, we're always there to support our volunteers.
That's awesome. Well, I'd like to close out today just saying that this is something that I'm very passionate about. And, we have a lot of followers on the podcast. And sometimes, every month we get new ones because they're finding the podcast. And I would say to listeners, if you're listening to this, and if you have any means to donate or to volunteer, there's tons of foster nonprofits here in Bakersfield. I think there's like 7. And I would just say, try to find a place to help, because we are changing Kern County. We are changing these kids' lives, and it's just important to, be a part of it. And I would encourage, if you are listening and you are a foster child, or probably not a child, but somebody who graduated out of the foster system and is now on the streets, and you find this podcast, because, we reach entrepreneurs and we reach a lot of different people, I would say look up Covenant Coffee, look up other resources, or even call CASA and be like, hey, what can I get connected with to help improve your life? And, find a mentor, find a teacher, find a professor, find somebody that will help you, give you those opportunities. Because all programs at schools and all these tons of nonprofits, we were saying we wish there was a list of all the nonprofits. Somebody needs to do that, by the way, if you're listening. Because there's so many things that you can be involved in, or if you're needing the resources, it's there. And so I appreciate you guys coming so much. Again, this just means a lot to me, just because I do think there's a big need here in Kern County. Like I said, you guys said of 2,000 2,000 kids. Other nonprofits has thousands of kids as well. So it's a bigger issue that, I don't think people are aware of here.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you for having us, Amanda.
This show has been brought to you by the Law Office of Kyle Jones, Troy Burton with the Lynn Company, CPA John Duffield, Scott Hansen Real Estate Lender, broker and investor, Dave Plivlich, President and CEO of the Marcom Group and MarcomBranding.com, and Amanda DiGiacomo, President of Atlas Financial Solutions. You've been listening to the Our 2 Cents podcast. Check out the show notes for links and more information about the show. Also visit our website at our2centspodcast.com or catch us on Instagram at Our 2 Cents Podcasts. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share with others.